They say the moment you become a father changes everything. They're right. Just not the way I expected. I walked into that delivery room still wearing my combat boots, desert dust probably still in my hair, expecting to meet my son. Instead, I met the truth. My white wife Charmaine gave birth to a black baby, and in that instant, 8 months of deployment, 8 months of dodging IEDs in Kandahar while thinking about holding my child, burned to ash. The shock hit first, then the betrayal, then something colder. My name is Adam Adamson, and I'm 35 years old. I didn't break down. I didn't beg for explanations. I made a choice right there in that hospital room. Walk away, fight back, and make absolutely certain Charmaine faced every consequence she deserved. What followed was methodical. Divorce papers, frozen accounts, legal warfare that left her homeless and penniless while I rebuilt my life with the family I actually deserved. She thought I'd be too shell-shocked to fight, too desperate for family to walk away. She bet wrong. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted with your whole heart, you'll understand what happened next wasn't just revenge, it was justice. And I'd do it all again. But let me start from the beginning. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. I'd been traveling for 36 hours straight when I finally made it to St. Mary's Hospital. My unit commander had pulled strings to get me emergency leave when Charmaine went into labor early, 3 weeks ahead of schedule. I remember standing outside her room, heart hammering, wondering if I'd missed it. 8 months deployed in Afghanistan, and I'd almost missed my son's birth. The nurse smiled when she saw my uniform. Room 347. You're just in time, soldier. She's pushing. I practically ran down that hallway. When I opened the door, Charmaine was mid-contraction, her face red, her mother Diane holding one hand while a nurse held the other. Charmaine's eyes went wide when she saw me, not with joy, with fear, pure, animal terror. Adam? Her voice cracked. You're not supposed to be here yet. Surprise, I said, moving to her side. I wasn't going to miss this for anything. Diane's face had gone pale. She was staring at me like I was a ghost. The doctor, an older woman named Dr. Harrison, glanced up from between Charmaine's legs. All right, Mom, one more big push. Dad's home just in time. That's when everything stopped making sense. The baby came out with one final push, and the room filled with that first cry. Doctor. Harrison lifted him up, and the overhead lights caught his skin. Beautiful, dark brown skin. Black hair and soft curls, features that looked nothing like mine. The room went dead silent except for the baby's wailing. I stood there, my duffel bag still on my shoulder, staring at this child. This beautiful child who couldn't possibly be mine. Dr. Harrison's smile faltered. She recovered quickly. Professional. It's a boy. A healthy baby boy. Charmaine was sobbing. Not happy tears. Panicked, desperate sobbing. Adam, I can explain? Explain? My voice came out cold, dead calm. Explain how my white wife just gave birth to a black baby while I was deployed for 8 months? Diane tried to step forward. Adam, please, just don't. I held up one hand. Don't say a single word to me, Diane. Charmaine was reaching for me, her hospital gown soaked with sweat. It was a mistake. It only happened once, I swear. Once? I laughed, and it sounded wrong even to my own ears. You expect me to believe you fucked someone once and got pregnant? How stupid do you think I am? The nurse quietly excused herself. Smart woman. Adam, please. Charmaine's voice was climbing toward hysteria. We can work through this. People make mistakes. Who? The word came out sharp. Who was it? She was shaking, tears streaming down her face. It was, Adam, I'm so sorry. Who was it? It was Damien. The words exploded out of her. Damien Rodriguez from your unit. He came to check on me and I was lonely and… The floor dropped out from under me. Damien Rodriguez, my fucking battle buddy. The guy who'd saved my life in Kandahar. Who I'd trusted with my life. Damien, I repeated. Damien Rodriguez. She nodded frantically, like confessing would somehow make this better. Something crystallized in that moment. This wasn't just betrayal. This was calculated, deliberate. She'd fucked someone I knew, someone from my unit, probably in our bed. Here's what's going to happen, I said, and my voice was so calm it surprised even me. I'm walking out of this hospital. I'm going to see a lawyer. I'm filing for divorce, and I'm going to make absolutely certain you don't get a single fucking penny from me. Not the house, not my pension, not my deployment pay, nothing. You can't, Diane finally found her voice. She's your wife. She was my wife. Now she's just a cheater who's going to learn what happens when you betray a man who knows how to fight. I looked at Charmaine one last time. Her face was blotchy, her eyes swollen, her whole body shaking. You thought I'd be too shell-shocked to walk away, I said. You thought I'd be so desperate for family that I'd just accept this. You bet wrong. Adam, wait! She was trying to get out of the bed, but she'd just given birth. Please, we can fix this. I turned to Dr. Harrison. I need you to document everything. Time, date, my statement that I am not the father of this child. Can you do that? She nodded slowly. Yes, sir. I walked out of that room, down the hallway, past the nurse's station. Behind me, I could hear Charmaine screaming my name. I didn't look back. That same night, I drove straight from the hospital to Mike Jensen's house. Mike's porch light was still on when I pulled into his driveway. He opened the door before I could knock, took one look at my face, and stepped aside without a word. His living room smelled like leather and old books, comforting, familiar. We'd spent plenty of nights here after our first tour, drinking beer and pretending we weren't still seeing the shit we'd seen. Mike went straight to the cabinet and poured 2 fingers of whiskey into a glass, slid it across the coffee table to me. Talk, he said. I told him everything. The 36-hour trip home, walking into that delivery room, the baby, beautiful, black, impossible, Charmaine's face when she saw me, her desperate confession about Damian Rodriguez. Mike was quiet through all of it, didn't interrupt once. When I finished, he was quiet for another long moment. Jesus, Adam. He shook his head. That's cold, even for a cheating spouse story. Can we bury her? Legally? Mike smiled, and it wasn't nice. Oh, we can do better than bury her. We can destroy her. You're military, deployed when conception occurred, and there's a clear case of paternity fraud. California's a no-fault divorce state, but the military has its own rules. Plus, you've got documentation from the hospital? Dr. Harrison's putting it in the file. Perfect. Mike was already in lawyer mode, his mind working through angles. Here's what we do. File immediately for divorce, request an emergency hearing, demand a paternity test for the record, and pursue full recovery of any joint assets. The house, is it in both names? My name only. I bought it before we got married. Even better, that's separate property. She has no claim. Mike grabbed a legal pad from the side table and started taking notes. Any joint accounts? Just checking. Maybe $5,000 in there. Mike's smile widened. We'll freeze it. What about her? Does she work? Part-time at a boutique, maybe 20 hours a week. So she's financially dependent. No income, no assets, and about to be a single mother to a child that's not yours. Mike looked up from his notes. Adam, I can make her life a living hell. Do it. He pulled his laptop off the shelf. I'll have papers drawn up by tomorrow morning. In the meantime, here's your homework. Document everything. Every text message, every email, every social media post. If she tries to contact you, save it. If anyone tries to convince you to work it out, document that too. We're building a case that shows a pattern of deception. What about Damian? Mike's expression darkened. Rodriguez? That's trickier. He's still active duty? Last I checked. Then we report him through his chain of command. Adultery is still a crime under the UCMJ. We can bury his career while we're at it. I felt something loosen in my chest. A plan, direction, purpose. You know what that feels like? When everything's chaos and suddenly someone hands you a map? That's what Mike gave me in that moment. One more thing, Mike said, and his voice went serious. You need to prepare yourself. She's going to try everything. Tears, threats, bargaining. She'll get her family involved. She might even threaten to hurt herself. You need to be granite. No contact unless it's through lawyers. Can you do that? I thought about that delivery room, about Charmaine's face when the baby came out, about 8 months of her knowing that she'd betrayed me while I was dodging IEDs in Kandahar, about Damian, my battle buddy, the guy who'd saved my life, fucking my wife in my bed. After what I just saw, I finished my whiskey. Yeah, I can do that. Mike nodded. Good, because this is going to get ugly before it gets better. But when it's done, she won't have a damn thing. And you'll be free. When do we start? Right now. Mike opened his laptop. I'm drafting the petition tonight. We'll have it filed first thing Monday morning. Process server will deliver it while she's still in the hospital. She'll lose her mind. Good. Let her. 2 days later. The divorce papers hit Charmaine's hospital room at 8 a.m. on the morning of her discharge. The process server showed up at 8 a.m. sharp. Mike had scheduled it perfectly, right during morning rounds when the maternity ward was busiest. Charmaine was sitting up in bed, probably getting ready for discharge, when the guy handed her the papers. My phone started ringing 10 minutes later. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again, and again, and again. By the end of that day, Charmaine had called me 63 times. I didn't answer once. Instead, I spent those hours dismantling our life piece by piece. First stop, the house. I called a locksmith. Guy named Tom Brennan, ran his own shop, could be there in an hour. Need all the locks changed, I told him. Front door, back door, garage, everything. No problem. Domestic situation? Something like that. He didn't ask questions. Had the job done by noon. Next, the bank. I walked into our credit union and closed the joint checking account. The teller, a middle-aged woman named Patricia Voss, looked uncomfortable when I asked to withdraw the full balance and open a new account in my name only. Sir, both account holders usually need to be present for... I slid my military ID and the divorce petition across the counter. She committed paternity fraud while I was deployed. I need this done today. Patricia read the first page of the petition. Her expression shifted from uncomfortable to sympathetic. I'll get my manager. 20 minutes later, I walked out with a cashier's check for the full balance, $4,847, and a new account that only had my name on it. Credit cards were next. American Express, Visa, the store card from Macy's. I need to remove an authorized user, I told each customer service rep. Yes, immediately. No, she doesn't need to be notified. I'm the primary account holder. Utility companies were easier. Just transferring everything to my name, I said, removing the secondary name from the account. Electric, gas, water, internet, trash, all of it. By the time the sun went down, Charmaine's name wasn't attached to a single thing in my life. Diane called me that night at 9 p.m. I'd been expecting it. She has a newborn baby, Adam. Diane was screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. You can't just throw her out on the street. Watch me. I hung up. The phone rang again. I blocked the number. Midnight. I was half asleep when the pounding started. Bang, bang, bang! Adam! Charmaine's voice, shrill and desperate. Adam, open the door! I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. I need police at 4782 Oakwood Drive. My ex-wife is violating a restraining order and disturbing the peace. The operator's voice was calm. Sir, has a restraining order been officially filed? Shit. Mike had drafted it, but hadn't filed yet. She's banging on my door and screaming at midnight. I've asked her to leave. She won't. Officers are en route. I stayed on the line while Charmaine kept pounding. I could hear the baby crying. She'd brought Brody with her. My neighbor's lights were coming on. Mr. Kowalski from next door opened his front door, took one look at the scene, and shook his head. The cops arrived 7 minutes later. 2 patrol officers, Marcus Delaney and Jennifer Park, according to their name tags. I opened my front door. Charmaine was still on the porch, holding Brody, her face blotchy and wet with tears. Sir? Officer Delaney looked at me. This is your residence? Yes. This is my ex-wife. We're in the middle of a divorce. I've asked her to leave. She won't. Charmaine whirled on the officers. This is my house. He can't just lock me out. I have nowhere to go. Ma'am, whose name is on the deed? Officer Park asked. His, but then it's his residence. You need to leave. I have a baby, a newborn baby. Where am I supposed to go? Officer Delaney's expression hardened. Ma'am, that's not our concern. You're trespassing. You can leave voluntarily, or we can arrest you for disturbing the peace and trespassing. Charmaine looked at me. Her eyes were desperate, pleading. Adam, please, please don't do this. I looked at her, at the baby in her arms, Damien's baby, at the woman who'd lied to me for 8 months while I was in Afghanistan. You should have thought about that before you fucked my battle buddy. Officer Park cleared her throat. Ma'am, you need to leave now. I'm not going anywhere. That's when Officer Delaney took her arm. Ma'am, you're under arrest for disturbing the peace. Charmaine started screaming. One of the neighbors, Mrs. Henderson from across the street, came over and took Brody while they cuffed Charmaine. You bastard! Charmaine was crying so hard she could barely breathe. "You fucking bastard!" They put her in the back of the patrol car. Mrs. Henderson handed the baby to Diane, who'd apparently been waiting in the car down the street. Diane looked at me with pure hatred. "I hope you can live with yourself." "Better than she can," I said. Mike filed the restraining order the next morning. The paternity test results came back 5 days later. Probability of paternity, 0%, I wasn't the father. Not that there'd been any doubt, but seeing it in official lab results made it real. Mike subpoenaed Damian Rodriguez for testing the same day. Damian tried to dodge it, had his lawyer file a motion to quash the subpoena. Mike crushed it in court. "Your client committed adultery with the wife of a deployed service member," Mike told Damian's lawyer, some JAG officer who looked fresh out of law school. "He can submit to testing voluntarily, or I'll have him dragged into court by MPs. His choice." Damian submitted to testing. 2 weeks later, the results came back. 99.97% probability of paternity. Damian was Brody's father. I printed out the results and drove them personally to Colonel Whitmore's office. "Sir," I said, standing at attention, "I'm filing a formal complaint against Sergeant Damian Rodriguez for violation of Article 134 of the UCMJ, adultery with my wife while I was deployed in Afghanistan." Colonel Whitmore read the paternity results. His jaw tightened. "This will go to court-martial." "I know, sir." "Rodriguez's career is over." "Good." That's when Charmaine made her biggest mistake. She went to Facebook, posted a long, tearful message about how her husband had abandoned her and her newborn son. How she had nothing, no home, no money, no support. How I was heartless and cruel. How she was just a young mother trying to survive. The post got shared, and shared again, and again. People in the military spouse community started commenting, most of them sympathetic. "This is awful. What kind of man abandons his own child? Military wives need to support each other." I watched it spread for exactly 1 week. Then Mike and I made our move. Mike released everything. Hospital records showing a black baby born to 2 white parents. Paternity test results showing 0% match to me. The deployment timeline proving I was in Afghanistan during conception. The confession from Charmaine naming Damian Rodriguez. All of it. The post went viral again, but this time, the comments were different. She cheated on a deployed soldier and expected sympathy? This is disgusting. She's the reason military wives get a bad reputation. She deserves everything she's getting. The backlash was immediate and brutal. 6 weeks after that delivery room, I stood in family court wearing my dress uniform. Mike thought it would help, remind the judge I was a soldier, serving my country while my wife was screwing around. Charmaine sat at the opposite table with her lawyer. She looked like hell. Her hair was pulled back in a greasy ponytail, unwashed for days probably. The clothes she wore hung off her frame. She'd lost weight, too much weight. Dark circles under her eyes, the hollow stare of someone who wasn't sleeping. I felt nothing looking at her. Her attorney was a kid named Jeffrey Parker. Couldn't have been more than a year out of law school. Probably the only lawyer she could afford on whatever Diane was giving her. Judge Clarkson entered, a stern woman in her 60s with silver hair pulled back tight. She looked at everyone over her glasses like a disappointed teacher. "Let's begin," she said. Jeffrey stood up, tugging at his collar. "Your Honor, my client understands that the paternity issue is complicated, but she was married to Mr. Adamson during the pregnancy and birth. Under California law, there's a presumption—" "Counselor." Judge Clarkson's voice could cut glass. "Are you seriously asking this court to reward paternity fraud?" Jeffrey's face went red. "Your Honor, my client made a mistake." "A mistake?" Judge Clarkson leaned forward. "Mr. Parker, a mistake is forgetting to file paperwork on time. A mistake is a clerical error. What your client did was deliberate deception against a deployed service member. Do you understand the difference?" "Yes, Your Honor, but Mr. Adamson was serving in Afghanistan during the period of conception, correct?" "Yes, Your Honor." "And the paternity test definitively proves he is not the biological father?" Jeffrey looked at his notes like they might save him. "Yes, Your Honor." "And your client was aware of these facts when she allowed Mr. Adamson to believe he was the father?" Silence. "Mr. Parker, I asked you a question." "Yes," Jeffrey said quietly. "She was aware." Judge Clarkson sat back. "Then what exactly are we arguing about here?" Jeffrey wilted. You could see him realize he had nothing. No case, no angle, no hope. "Your Honor, my client is a new mother with no income and no support. The child needs—" "The child," Judge Clarkson interrupted. is not Mr. Adamson's responsibility. The biological father has been identified through paternity testing, a Sergeant Damian Rodriguez, currently facing court-martial for adultery. If your client needs child support, she can pursue it through him. Mike stood up. Your Honor, if I may, my client has provided overwhelming evidence, hospital records, paternity results, deployment documentation proving he was overseas during conception. Mrs. Adamson's own confession naming Sergeant Rodriguez as the father. This is as clear-cut as these cases get. I agree, Judge Clarkson said. She pulled out her reading glasses and looked at the file. Here's my ruling. Divorce granted. Mr. Adamson retains sole ownership of the marital home, purchased prior to marriage, which makes it separate property under California law. Mrs. Adamson has no claim. Charmaine made a sound, half gasp, half sob. Joint bank accounts will be divided according to contribution, the judge continued. Bank records show Mr. Adamson contributed 90% of the deposits. He's entitled to 90% of the balance. That leaves Mrs. Adamson with approximately $500. Your Honor, Jeffrey tried. I'm not finished. No alimony, no spousal support. Mr. Adamson has no financial obligation to the child, as he is not the biological father. This is paternity fraud, plain and simple, and this court will not reward it. Charmaine was crying now, full-on sobbing, her shoulders shaking. I felt nothing. Furthermore, Judge Clarkson said, I'm ordering Mrs. Adamson to cease all contact with Mr. Adamson except through legal counsel. Any violation will result in contempt charges. Do you understand, Mrs. Adamson? Charmaine nodded, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. I need a verbal response. Yes, Charmaine whispered. I understand. Judge Clarkson looked at her for a long moment. Then she looked at me. Mr. Adamson, thank you for your service. This court is disgusted by the deception perpetrated against you while you were serving your country. You're free to rebuild your life. Thank you, Your Honor. The gavel came down. It was over. Charmaine looked at me across the courtroom. Her eyes were pleading, desperate, like she was hoping I'd change my mind at the last second, like I'd suddenly decide to forgive everything and save her. I stood up, buttoned my suit jacket, straightened my tie, and walked out. Behind me, I heard her collapse into sobs, loud, ugly crying that echoed in the courtroom. I didn't look back. Outside, Mike clapped me on the shoulder. Clean sweep. She got nothing. Good, I said, and I meant it. 3 months after that courtroom, life started feeling normal again. Or at least a new kind of normal, the kind where I wasn't waiting for the next bomb to drop. My unit had finished deployment and rotated home. The first day back on base, Sergeant Green pulled me aside in the motor pool. Bro, he said, I heard about Damian. What a piece of shit. That was the thing about the military. Word traveled fast. Everyone knew what happened, and everyone was on my side. Yeah, I said, it is what it is. No, man, it's not just what it is. That's a brother violating the code. You trust someone with your life over there, and then he does that? Green shook his head. We all got your back. And they did. The whole unit rallied around me. Guys I barely knew would nod in the hallway, offer to buy me drinks at the NCO club. Nobody mentioned Charmaine's name. Nobody asked how I was doing. They just showed up. Damian's court-martial wrapped up quick, reduced in rank, forfeiture of pay, dishonorable discharge, his military career. Over. Just like that. They also ordered him to pay child support to Charmaine, which was rich considering Damian was now unemployed and blacklisted in every veteran community from here to the East Coast. Good luck collecting that money. Mike's investigator, yeah, I'd hired one, kept me updated on Charmaine. She'd moved in with Diane. The boutique had fired her after the Facebook thing went nuclear. Couldn't find work anywhere else. Diane was supporting both of them, plus baby Brody on a teacher's salary. They were struggling. Good. I know that sounds cold. Maybe it is. But you don't get to destroy someone's life and expect them to feel sorry for you when yours falls apart. That's not cruelty. That's justice. I sold the house. Too many memories in those rooms. Too many nights lying awake wondering why I wasn't enough. Too many mornings packing for deployment while she smiled and promised to wait. I didn't need the space anyway. Bought a small condo closer to base. 2 bedrooms, modern kitchen, big windows, a place that was mine. Clean slate. That's when I met Ellie. There was a community barbecue on base. One of those things the family readiness group organized to welcome everyone home. I almost didn't go. Wasn't really in the mood for small talk and potato salad. But I went. And there she was. Blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail, warm smile, laugh lines around her eyes that told you she knew how to find joy even when life got hard. She was helping set up the dessert table, talking to a little girl, her daughter, I'd learn later. We got in line for burgers at the same time. "You just get back?" she asked. "Yeah, couple months ago." "Welcome home," she smiled. "I'm Ellie. I teach at the elementary school here." "Adam." We started talking, and something just clicked. You know that feeling when conversation flows easy, when you're not working to fill silence or impress anyone? That. I found out she'd been divorced 3 years. Abusive ex-husband she'd finally escaped. 7-year-old daughter named Jasmine. She'd rebuilt her whole life from nothing and came out stronger. By the time the barbecue ended, I had her number. We went on our first date that weekend. Second date 3 days later. By the third date, I told her everything. The whole story. The delivery room. The divorce. Damien. All of it. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "So, you're the guy," she said. "The guy? Everyone on base has heard about what happened to you. You're kind of famous." I grimaced. "Not the kind of famous I wanted." "No, it's good famous," she said. "Everyone's on your side. What she did, what they did, it's unforgivable." Ellie was different from Charmaine in every way that mattered. She was honest, direct, didn't play games or test me or make me guess what she was thinking. She'd been through her own hell and survived it. That kind of strength, you can't fake it. By month 4, we were serious. She'd met my mom when Mom flew in for a visit. I'd met Jasmine officially. Sweet kid, smart, loved reading. She called me Mr. Adam and showed me her favorite books. By month 6, Ellie and Jasmine moved into my condo. Life was good. Better than good. Ellie would wake up early and make coffee. Jasmine would drag her backpack to the kitchen table and work on homework. We'd have dinner together every night, real family dinners where we talked about our days. I remember thinking one night, watching Ellie help Jasmine with a math worksheet, that this was what I'd wanted all along. Partnership, honesty, someone who chose me every single day. I should have known it wouldn't last. Not the relationship, that was solid, but the peace, the quiet, because nothing ever stays buried forever. I was shopping for groceries on a Thursday evening. Routine stuff, pasta and chicken and vegetables. Ellie had requested ingredients for this casserole recipe Jasmine loved. Normal, peaceful, domestic. Then I turned into the cereal aisle and saw Diane. She was pushing a cart piled high with formula and diapers. Off-brand everything, the cheap stuff you buy when money's tight. She looked older than I remembered, more gray in her hair, deeper lines carved around her mouth and eyes. She saw me and froze. For a second, we just stared at each other. Two people who used to be family, used to share holidays and birthdays and Sunday dinners. "Adam?" she said finally. "Diane." Silence stretched between us. I should have kept walking. Should have grabbed my cereal and moved on. But I was curious. Maybe I wanted confirmation that karma was real. "How is she?" I asked. Diane's jaw tightened. "How do you think?" "I'm asking." "She can't find work," Diane said, and her voice was bitter, raw. "Nobody will hire her. Everyone knows what she did. We're drowning in debt. The baby, Brody, he has colic. Cries all night, every night. Damien sends maybe $200 a month when he remembers, which isn't often." She paused. "She's broken, Adam. Completely broken." "Good." The word came out flat, final. Diane's face twisted. "How can you be so cruel? She made a mistake." "Stop." I cut her off. "Stop calling it a mistake. She didn't make a mistake. She cheated. She lied. She tried to pass off another man's child as mine. Those aren't mistakes, Diane. Those are choices." "She was lonely," Diane's voice climbed. "You were gone for months. I was serving my country." My anger was rising now, cold and controlled. She knew what she was signing up for when she married a soldier. And you know what? Plenty of military spouses don't cheat. Plenty of them stay faithful. So don't give me that lonely bullshit. "She's got nothing, Adam." Diane's eyes were wet. "Nothing. And you've moved on. You're with someone new. You're happy. Meanwhile, my daughter is suffering." "Your daughter is suffering the consequences of her own actions," I said. "That's not my problem." "Please." She stepped closer. "I'm not asking you to take her back. I'm not asking for anything like that. I'm just asking you to help with the baby. Just a little. Brody is not my child. Each word landed like a hammer. Not my responsibility. You want someone to blame? Talk to Damien. Or better yet, talk to your daughter about why she destroyed her own life. I started to push my cart past her. Diane grabbed my arm. Adam, please. I pulled free. Not rough, but firm. Final. Let go. She did. Her hand dropped to her side. I looked at her one last time. This woman who used to make me dinner when Charmaine worked late, who'd helped us move into the house, who'd called me son. You raised her to think actions don't have consequences, I said quietly. Maybe if you taught her better, we wouldn't be standing here. I walked away. Behind me, I heard Diane start to cry. Soft, broken sobs in the middle of the cereal aisle. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not guilt, not anger, just nothing. I finished my shopping, paid, drove home. Ellie and Jasmine were in the living room watching a movie. Jasmine was curled up against Ellie's side, half asleep. Get everything? Ellie asked. Yeah, I said. All set. She smiled, reached up and squeezed my hand when I passed the couch. That night, lying in bed next to Ellie, I thought about Diane crying in that grocery store, about Charmaine broken and struggling, about baby Brody who didn't ask for any of this. And I still felt nothing. Maybe that makes me cold, maybe it makes me heartless, or maybe it just makes me someone who refuses to set himself on fire to keep liars warm. 2 weeks passed. Life kept moving forward like it does. Work, dinners with Ellie and Jasmine, weekend trips to the park, normal, beautiful, peaceful. Then one evening someone knocked on my door. I was helping Jasmine with her spelling homework while Ellie prepped dinner. The knock was soft, hesitant. Ellie looked at me, eyebrows raised. We weren't expecting anyone. I went to the door and opened it. Charmaine stood on my doorstep. She looked worse than she had in the courtroom, if that was even possible. Charmaine stood there on my doorstep, and I barely recognized her. She'd lost weight, too much weight. Her clothes hung off her frame like she'd borrowed them from someone 2 sizes bigger. Her hair was pulled back in a greasy ponytail, dark circles under her eyes, cheeks hollow. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. You need to leave, I said. You're violating the restraining order. I know. Her voice was small, defeated. I know, but Adam, please, just 5 minutes. Ellie appeared behind me. I felt her hand on my shoulder. I looked at her, saw the concern in her eyes, the question. I nodded. Ellie, take Jasmine inside. Ellie hesitated. Then she squeezed my shoulder and called for Jasmine. I heard them move deeper into the condo, heard the TV turn on. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. Charmaine and I stood on the front step. The evening air was cool. She was shaking. Whether from the cold or nerves, I couldn't tell. 5 minutes, I said. She nodded, swallowed hard. I'm sorry. The words tumbled out fast, desperate. I know that doesn't mean anything. I know I destroyed everything. I know I ruined the best thing in my life. But I need you to know, I'm sorry. I was stupid and selfish and… Is that it? She flinched like I'd slapped her. No, She took a shaky breath. I need help, Adam. I can't do this alone. The baby, Brody. I named him Brody. He needs things. Formula, diapers, doctor visits. Damien barely sends anything. Maybe $200 a month if I'm lucky. Mom's doing her best, but we're drowning. I can't find work because everyone knows what I did. We're about to get evicted. Again, I said, and my voice was flat. Not my problem. I know, her voice broke. Tears were streaming down her face now. I know it's not your problem. But please, I'm not asking for me. I'm asking for Brody. He didn't ask for any of this. I looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman used to be my wife, used to sleep next to me, used to laugh at my jokes and kiss me goodbye when I left for PT. Now she was a stranger who'd betrayed me in the worst way possible. You're right, I said quietly. Brody didn't ask for this. But neither did I. Adam, you made choices, Charmaine. You chose to cheat. You chose to get pregnant. You chose to lie to me for 8 months while I was getting shot at in Afghanistan. Now you get to live with those choices. So that's it? Her voice was climbing toward hysteria. You're just going to let us suffer? Let a baby suffer? No. I stepped closer. She actually backed up. I'm going to let you suffer. Brody's suffering? That's on you, not me. Every missed meal, Every unpaid bill, every moment of struggle, that's because of what you did, not because of what I'm doing. You did this." She was sobbing now, big, ugly sobs that shook her whole body. "I hate you," she said. "Good," I said. "We're even." I went inside and closed the door, locked it behind me. Through the window, I watched her stand there for a moment. Then she stumbled to the car parked at the curb, Diane's old sedan, the one with the dent in the passenger door. She sat in the driver's seat and cried, just sat there, hands on the steering wheel, crying like her world was ending. I watched for maybe 5 minutes. Then she wiped her face, started the engine, and drove away. Ellie came up behind me, wrapped her arms around my waist. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. And I was. Life moved forward. It always does. Ellie and I got engaged 2 months later. Small proposal, just the 3 of us on the beach. Jasmine jumped up and down and hugged us both until we couldn't breathe. I got promoted at work, started making plans for the wedding, started looking at bigger houses with yards. Everything was good, really, genuinely good. 8 months after the divorce was finalized, my phone rang. Mike. I answered. "Hey, what's up?" "You're going to want to sit down for this," he said. My stomach dropped. "What happened?" "Charmaine tried to file for emergency spousal support, claimed she's homeless and destitute. Judge Clarkson denied it, cited the original ruling about the paternity fraud. But here's the thing, Adam." He paused. "She went to the local news." "What?" "She did an interview. Showed up with the baby, told them she's a single mother abandoned by her military husband, that the system failed her. She's trying to make herself look like the victim." I felt rage surge through me, cold, controlled. "Are you kidding me?" "It gets worse. The news station is running the story tonight. They're framing it as military spouse left destitute. They don't have all the facts yet, but send them everything," I said. "Hospital records, paternity tests, the divorce ruling, all of it." "Already on it," Mike said. "But Adam, this is going to get messy. Are you ready for that?" I thought about Ellie, about Jasmine, about the life we were building. "Yeah," I said. "I'm ready." The news segment aired that night. I sat on the couch with Ellie, watching our local station, Channel 7 News. The anchor, a polished woman in her 40s, introduced the story with concern in her voice. "Tonight, we have an exclusive interview with a local military spouse who says she's been abandoned by the system. Anjali Hansen has the story." The screen cut to Charmaine. She was sitting in Diane's living room. I recognized the old floral couch, the dated wallpaper. Brody was in her arms, wrapped in a blue blanket. She looked frail, sympathetic. "Broken." "He just walked away," Charmaine said, her voice trembling. "I gave birth, and he looked at our son and just left. I don't understand how someone can do that." Anjali Hansen, a young reporter with perfect makeup and practiced empathy, leaned forward. "And you're struggling to provide for your baby?" "I can't feed him," Charmaine said. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I can't afford formula. We're being evicted. I've applied for assistance, but it's not enough. And my ex-husband, he's military. He's getting full pay, full benefits, everything, and we have nothing." Anjali's face showed appropriate sympathy. "Your ex-husband is still active duty military?" "Yes," Charmaine nodded. "He came home from deployment and just abandoned us, me and our son, like we meant nothing." I felt Ellie's hand tighten on mine. She was gripping so hard my fingers went numb. "That lying bitch," Ellie hissed. The segment continued. Charmaine talked about sleepless nights, about choosing between diapers and food, about how the system failed single mothers. Anjali ate it up, asked softball questions, never challenged a single claim. When it ended, the anchor came back on screen. "A heartbreaking story. If you'd like to help Charmaine and her son, donation information is available on our website." I stared at the screen. Ellie turned to me. "Adam, I'm calling Mike," I said. By morning, Mike had sent the station everything. Hospital records showing the baby's skin color at birth. Paternity test results showing 0% probability I was the father. The divorce ruling with Judge Clarkson's scathing language about paternity fraud. Documentation of Damian Rodriguez's court-martial. Screenshots of Charmaine's original Facebook posts trying to play victim before the truth came out. All of it. By noon, the station issued a retraction. "We apologize for last night's segment. We have since received documentation showing the situation is more complex than initially presented. We are reviewing the facts and will provide an update." By evening, they aired the correction. Angeli Hansen sat at the news desk. Her expression was mortified, professional, but mortified. Last night, we aired a story about a local military spouse claiming abandonment. We have since learned that our initial reporting was incomplete and, frankly, misleading. We apologize? The screen filled with documentation, redacted medical records, paternity test results, excerpts from the divorce ruling. This is not a case of an abandoned military spouse, Anjali continued. This is a case of paternity fraud and infidelity committed during a military deployment. The individual we interviewed misrepresented the facts. Her ex-husband, who served 8 months in Afghanistan, returned to discover his wife had engaged in an affair and given birth to another man's child. He is not the biological father and has no legal obligation to provide support. She paused, looked straight at the camera. We apologize to the service member in question and to our viewers. We failed to verify the facts before airing this story. I watched in silence. The damage to Charmaine was immediate. The original segment had been shared maybe a few hundred times on Facebook, local military spouse groups, community pages. But the correction? That spread like wildfire. Thousands of shares, tens of thousands. The comments were brutal. She cheated on a deployed soldier and expected sympathy? This is disgusting. She's the reason military wives get a bad reputation. She deserves everything she's getting. Within 24 hours, death threats started appearing on Diane's Facebook page. People threatened to find Charmaine, to hurt her, to make her pay. Someone recognized Charmaine at the grocery store and confronted her in the produce aisle, screaming about stolen valor and disrespecting the troops. Someone spray-painted cheater across Diane's sedan in bright red letters. I heard all this from Mike's investigator. I didn't go looking for it, but it found me anyway. 3 days after the corrected segment aired, I was sitting at my desk when Mike called. She wants to meet, he said. Who? Charmaine. She reached out through my office. Wants one final conversation. No lawyers, no recordings, just the two of you. I leaned back in my chair. Why? She didn't say. But Adam, this is a trap. She's desperate. Who knows what she's planning? I thought about it. Set it up, I said. Somewhere public. I'll be fine. Adam, I'm curious, Mike. I want to hear what she has to say. Mike sighed. Coffee shop near the base. Tomorrow at 2. I'll text you the address. Thanks. I hung up and stared at my computer screen. One more conversation. What could possibly go wrong? The coffee shop was quiet for a Tuesday afternoon. Just a handful of people scattered at tables, most of them staring at laptops or phones. Charmaine was already there when I walked in. She sat in a corner booth, baby Brody asleep in a carrier beside her. She looked up when the door chimed. Her eyes found mine. I walked over and slid into the booth across from her. Thanks for coming, she said. You have 10 minutes. She nodded, took a breath. I'm not here to apologize again. I know you don't want to hear it. Then why am I here? I need you to make a statement. I stared at her. A statement? To the news, to social media. Just something saying that I'm not a monster. That what I did was wrong. But I don't deserve death threats. That Brody doesn't deserve to suffer because of what I did. You want me to defend you? I'm not asking you to take me back. I'm not asking for money. Her voice cracked slightly. I'm just asking you to help stop the hate. Please, Adam. People are threatening to hurt my baby. I looked at her. Really looked at her. She wasn't manipulating. She was terrified. My eyes drifted to Brody, sleeping peacefully in his carrier. Tiny fists curled against his chest, completely innocent. Fine, I said. I'll make a statement. But you're going to do something for me first. Anything. You're going to publicly admit what you did. No excuses, no, I was lonely, no blaming deployment. You're going to own it, every bit of it. And then you're going to apologize. Not to me. To every military spouse who you just made look bad with your bullshit news interview. Her face crumpled. Adam, that's the deal. Take it or leave it. She sat there for a long time, silent. I watched emotions play across her face. Shame, fear, desperation. Finally, she nodded. Okay. 2 days later, Charmaine's statement went live on Facebook. I watched it on my phone, sitting at my desk at work. She sat in Diane's living room, Brody on her lap, and she told the truth. All of it. I cheated on my husband while he was deployed. I got pregnant with another man's baby. I lied about it for 8 months. When the truth came out, I tried to make myself the victim. Her voice shook, but she kept going. I was wrong. Everything Adam did, the divorce, cutting me off, refusing to help, he was justified. I destroyed my marriage. I destroyed my life. And I made every faithful military spouse look bad with my lies. She was crying by the end. I'm sorry, she said. To Adam? To the military community? To everyone I hurt with my selfishness. I deserve everything that's happened to me. The video ended. I sat back in my chair. Within hours, it had tens of thousands of views. The comments were mixed. Some people felt sorry for her. Most didn't. But the death threats stopped. People moved on to the next scandal. True to my word, I made a statement too, short and simple. Charmaine made terrible choices, but she doesn't deserve violence or threats against her child. What she did was wrong. What happened to her was justice. Let's let it end there. And it did. 6 months later, Ellie and I got married. Small ceremony. Just family and close friends. Jasmine was the flower girl, beaming in her white dress. My mom flew in from Ohio. At the reception, she pulled me aside. I'm proud of you, she said, for how you handled everything. A lot of men would have crumbled. I had good support, I said, nodding toward Mike, who was attempting to dance with his wife. No, Mom said firmly. You had strength. That came from you. I looked across the room at Ellie, laughing with Jasmine. My family. My real family. The divorce, the betrayal, the public mess. It all felt like another lifetime. A few weeks after the wedding, I got a letter. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. Adam, I know I have no right to contact you, but I wanted you to know that Brody is doing okay. We're stable now. I got a job at a call center, night shift, so Mom can watch him. It's not much, but it's something. Damien's gone. He moved to another state and stopped sending support. I'm not surprised. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even want a response. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying to do better. For Brody, I hope you're happy. You deserve to be. S. I read it twice, then fed it through the shredder in my office. Ellie found me there a minute later. What was that? Nothing important, I said, and pulled her into a kiss. Some chapters close themselves. Others, you have to close deliberately. Either way, they're closed. 4 months into our marriage, Ellie got pregnant. She took the test on a Tuesday morning before work, then called me, crying happy tears. We're having a baby, a real baby, our baby. That night, we told Jasmine. She bounced around the living room, already planning names. 9 months later, Sarah was born, red-faced, screaming, absolutely perfect. I held her in the delivery room. This time, there were no surprises, no betrayals, just pure joy. You okay? Ellie asked, watching my face. Yeah, I said. I'm okay. 2 years later, life's good. Really good. Ellie and I bought a house with a yard. Jasmine's thriving in school. Sarah just turned 2 and is already trying to keep up with her big sister. We're happy. Mike's become Sarah's godfather. We still laugh about the old days sometimes, but mostly we talk about normal stuff. Kids, mortgages, retirement plans. I ran into Diane a few months ago at the commissary. She looked better, less worn down. We nodded at each other but didn't speak. Some bridges are better left burned. I heard through the grapevine that Charmaine eventually moved away, took Brody and started fresh somewhere in Nevada. I hope she's doing okay, not for her sake, but for his. That kid deserves better than the mess his mother made. As for Damien, last I heard he's working construction and living in a trailer park. No military benefits, no career, no future. He reached out once, a drunken Facebook message apologizing and asking if we could let bygones be bygones. I blocked him without responding. Some people think I was too harsh, that I should have been more forgiving, more understanding, that everyone deserves a second chance. But here's the thing. Actions have consequences. Charmaine made her choices. She chose to cheat. She chose to lie. She chose to try to trap me with another man's baby. She didn't deserve forgiveness. She deserved exactly what she got. Nothing. And me? I got everything. A woman who loves me, who's honest, who chooses me every single day. 2 beautiful daughters. A home filled with laughter. Peace. That's not revenge. That's justice. I'm not sorry for walking away from that delivery room. I'm not sorry for crushing her in court. I'm not sorry for refusing to help her when she came crawling back. And I'm sure as hell not sorry for building a better life without her. Because at the end of the day, she had a choice. Be faithful or face the consequences. She chose. and so did I. And I chose me. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.